Tom Price is the new Secretary of Health and Human Services. He was literally one of the most openly corrupt congressmen in the country. I feel like it's necessary to bring that up every time I talk about him. He traded $300,000 worth of health stocks, and then he proposed bills that affected those companies and made him rich. So even with our lax campaign finance laws and such, he still found a way to kind of skirt them or, just break them. And there's going to be no consequences because there's never any consequences for corruption in America. But isn't that amazing that that happened and now he's Secretary of Health and Human Services, which means he got approved. Not only is he not, indicted, convicted in prison, he's approved to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. Well, now he's trying to repeal and replace Obamacare with the other Republicans, and he answered some questions at a town hall. Let's watch this, and then I want to discuss, but take note of how disconnected and detached he seems from a very straightforward question that's asked by a cancer survivor here.
Medicaid expansion saved my life and saved me from medical bankruptcy. Now, I earn $11.66 an hour at my retail job, and obviously I cannot afford to pay for my cancer care out of pocket. My life really depends on having access to my doctors and medical care. Getting a cancer diagnosis is bad enough, but Medicaid expansion gives me the economic security in knowing that funding is always going to be there for my cancer care. So my question for you, Secretary Price, is pretty straightforward. Why do you want to take away my Medicaid expansion?
Brian, thanks for that question, and thank goodness that things are going well from your healthcare standpoint. As a physician, I practiced medicine over 20 years and took care of a lot of patients with cancer, and it was one of those challenges that when it faces you as an individual or someone in your family, you want to make certain that you've got access to the highest quality care that you can receive. The fact of the matter is that we don't. We don't want to take care away from anybody. What we want to make certain, though, is that every single American has access to the kind of coverage and care that they want for themselves. If you look at the Medicaid program right now, we have 1/3 of the physicians in this nation, Brian, who are not seeing Medicaid patients. And so if we want to be honest with ourselves as a society, it's important that we step back and say, why is that? Why are those doctors not seeing Medicaid patients? And let me just suggest it's because the Medicaid program itself has real problems in it. And so what we want to do is, one, reform the Medicaid system, make certain that individuals who are currently on Medicaid or on the expansion either are able to retain that or move to a system that might be much more responsive to them through a series of advanceable refundable credits, a way to get coverage that they choose for themselves and for their family, not that the government forces on them. So thanks. It's wonderful that you have received the care that you've received, and it's because of the incredible innovations and great doctors across this land, but that's not necessarily true for everybody.
Okay, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but that really struck me as a sociopathic answer. Because the guy's saying, okay, Medicaid saved my life. With your ideas implemented, your policies implemented, I wouldn't have had Medicaid and I would have died. Did I say Medicaid or Medicare the first time? It's Medicaid. But what his argument is, and his point is, and it's just a fact, if you guys were in control the entire time, you wouldn't have expanded Medicaid, and I would have either died or I would have went bankrupt, paying for my health care for my cancer. Why do you want to take that away from me? And he just gives you a fucking mountain of bullshit. Again, and like I said, it was a disconnected, detached thing. Like he went right, without skipping a fucking beat, he went right into his politician's cadence and rhythm. Well, I'm happy that you survived and you're doing well, but let me go ahead and tell you how we're simply not doing that. Whoa, hold on. Independent, nonpartisan experts have said you indeed are doing that. Your plan calls for that. It's under this bill that he's hawking right here, it's an $880 billion Medicaid cut. So what do you mean? No, we're not doing that. We're reforming it. But that's the bullshit. Anytime you hear a politician say, we need to update, we need to reform Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security, we need to save it for future generations. Anytime you hear them say that, replace those words in your head with either the word cut, because that's what they're really talking about. They're going to cut the program, like I just said, $880 billion worth in this case, or they're going to privatize it. And he talks about that too. Oh yeah, we'll give you block grants or something. Give you some tax credits. Yeah, and then he still would have went bankrupt. What they want to do is cut the amount of money in care that you can get. But they frame it in a way where they try to bullshit you into thinking that's not what's happening. No, we're going to give you a tax credit that runs out a lot sooner and you would have went bankrupt from your cancer treatment. But anyway, that's fine print. Don't worry about that. I'm glad you're okay. How do you say that? The guy is pouring his heart out, saying, look, my life was saved because of the Medicaid expansion, and you want to take it away. He's like, no, we want to reform it, which sure effectively is an $880 billion cut to the program. And then he acts like not everybody has access to that. Hey, asshole, because of you. We should, have a Medicaid or Medicare for all system. He's like, not everybody has access to that. Right, that's the solution. Let's give everybody access to that. But he acts like their plan covers more people. That's just not true. In fact, under the plan he's pushing, 52 million people won't have health care by 2026. Under Obamacare, it's 28 million. So you're talking about more than 20 million more people who are uninsured under the Republican plan. So it really freaks me out how these guys are shameless in how they present this stuff. And by the way, that's on the CNN host there. That's on the media figures. Like, you gotta stop letting politicians bullshit on your airwaves. The whole point of the media is to say, here, you're wrong, and here are the facts on it. And, like the other day, we covered it with MSNBC. They played a Trump rally, basically 15 minutes straight, no cuts, no going back to the anchor to check them, unchecked. Trump did a populist economic speech for 15 minutes straight. You would expect they'd come back and they'd say, oh, by the way, while Trump's railing against outsourcing, his products are made in 15 different countries. And he could have signed on day one an executive order that had the federal government buy only American goods. He didn't do it. So you can point out, hey, this is wrong and this is what's really happening, but they don't. They just played him unedited. And then they cut back to the anchor, and then the anchor went on to the next show. Well, then you're just doing a fucking infomercial for the guy. You're just doing an infomercial for Tom Price here, letting him spew his bullshit about the bill, when everything he's saying is wrong. And it's not just me saying it's wrong. It's the nonpartisan CBO that's saying it's wrong, and they've gone after the Democrats a million times when the Democrats are incorrect about something. So we gotta... it's just, our system is so broken from top to bottom, from the government to the media. You name it. We got to have a wave of people in the media who give a shit about facts and hold politicians accountable. And we got to have a wave in the government of justice Democrats who will fight for the right things and will not be the mealy-mouthed, weak-ass corporate Democrats who can't even, find a way to beat this brand of out-and-out liar Republican.